Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. Now today we're talking about equality and the elimination of violence in Trinidad and Tobago in our special Future Forum segment. Now Future Forum now is a partnership between TTT and the Heroes Foundation that places young people at the heart of national development discussions. And so joining us this morning are Paola Silva and Zachary Benjamin from the Heroes Foundation, and of course Miss Ahhalia Ramdass, psychologist and team lead at the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. At this moment, I also want to take the time just to apologize on behalf of Miss Miriam Atka, the head of national office at the UNHCR, who will not be joining us this morning, but will join us at a later segment. And before we get into the discussion, let's look at a video now about youth perspective.
Here, every creed and race
finds an equal place.
And it's up to us to make it so. Because we want a Trinidad and Tobago where all children are free from violence and abuse.
Where we feel safe to speak up when we are scared, in danger, or need help.
We want all children to be safe.
We want adults to respect, care for, protect, and support children, and adults to also get help when they need, because everyone needs help sometime, and asking for help is okay.
To build a safe and healthy society, we need to respect differences and diversity.
All people should be respected, despite their age, sex, sexuality, ability, or disability,
race or religion, once they are not hurting or harming other people.
No one should hurt or harm others with their words or actions.
No one at all. And people who hurt or harm others must be held accountable.
Most people who live in Trinidad and Tobago have come here through migration. Some forced, some seeking a better life, and some seeking safety and security.
We understand that everyone who needs help cannot fit in Trinidad and Tobago. But there are people who are now part of our society, and we need to ensure that they have access to fundamental human rights like protection, education, food, and medication.
This must be a difficult situation to manage, but we want to understand the challenges because there may be opportunities that can benefit everyone, both locals and migrants.
Equality makes sense, but it seems difficult to achieve.
If it weren't, we wouldn't be talking about it today. An important step is to understand that violence and abuse are not normal parts of life and should not be tolerated.
Another step is to respect one another. It may seem difficult, but the steps are simple.
Together we aspire.
Together we achieve.
Pleasant good day, everyone. My name is Zachary, and I'm here with my colleague Paola.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
And it's clear to see from the video we just watched the concerns of the youth about elimination of violence and equality in Trinidad and Tobago. But thankfully, we have a guest here today, Ms. Ramdass, who we will be having a discussion with about this topic. So to start, Ms. Ramdass, what we would like to know, or what the youths would really like to know, is what exactly is the role of the Children's Authority in Trinidad and Tobago?
So pleasant good morning, and thank you so much for having me on the program with you all. So the Children's Authority is a specialized agency charged with the care and protection of our nation's children, both national and non-nationals, under the age of 18, right? So a child is anyone under the age of 18 by law in Trinidad and Tobago. And we are also in charge of the foster care system, the adoption system. We work with children who are in conflicts with the law, so along with the judicial system. We have oversight of the children's homes across the nation as well. And so there are quite a bit of things that we do that falls under the umbrella of care and protection.
So coming from all of these stuff you just said, like across Trinidad and Tobago, how many spaces are there for these children?
So, so you're asking me quite a difficult question. I can't give you an exact figure, but what I can say is that we do have what we call a placement crisis in Trinidad and Tobago, meaning there aren't enough spaces that are safe for children when they are removed from places that they are being harmed or ill-treated. We don't have enough spaces for them. So when we remove children because of risk right? So we remove children if they're in imminent danger, meaning that we believe if they are left in their homes or the environments that they're at, they can be harmed. We seek to place them with either a relative or a close friend of the family who is suitable to provide that safe environment for them. If there is none available, we look to a foster care system. If there aren't spaces available, then we look to placing a child within a community residence. So, you know, right now there's a huge push for us to expand our foster care system, expand our kinship foster care system, and, you know, we are continuously doing work to improve the community residents within our country as well, to ensure that those spaces are in fact safe and they meet the requirements for care and protection of children.
I would like to say that's very informative. But before we get into like the foster care system, what we would like to know is how difficult is your job in the Children's Authority?
My job specifically or generally? So generally the job is a difficult one. You know, we are seeing something like 3 to 4, sometimes 4 to 5,000 cases per year. That's children who are being ill-treated, children who are being abused by, you know, either physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, many forms of maltreatment or neglect. And so dealing with that on a continuous basis, on a day-in, day-out basis, it's something that is difficult. You know, the staff, they're exposed to trauma from dealing with children who are in these circumstances. You know, we have our children's services associates or emergency or first responders going out into the public and sometimes facing difficult circumstances when they go to interview or even remove children from dangerous situations. You know, we always have a challenge of resources and meeting the needs of the children that are placed under our care and protection. And, you know, it's a lot of different things. It's a lot of different things, but what I can say is that we are here because we do care. We are here to do a job that is difficult by nature. And, you know, we're committed to improving and to growing and to meeting the needs of the young people in this country.
Thank you very much for that, Paola.
Ms. Ramdass, besides safe space, what are the other services that you provide to these children that are being abused?
So despite
safe space.
Safe spaces?
Yeah.
So when children come before us, so they come to us for care and protection needs. So the first thing that will happen is that we sign a caseworker. And if that child needs to be removed from their home environment, well, that is done. We seek placement for them. And based on the assessment of the circumstance, they will either be referred to a psychologist for multidisciplinary assessment, so psychological evaluation. We have medical doctors as well who do their medical examinations, and we also do social examinations to get a sense of what the impact of that trauma has been upon these children and what are the interventions needed. And then we make the relevant referrals to put them in the spaces that they need to be in to receive the help and rehabilitation that they need. We also conduct forensic medicals, forensic interviews. We also work along with the child. We have a child justice unit because we work along with the judiciary for children who are in conflict with the law or children who are before the courts because they're in need of supervision. Like I said, we oversee the foster care and adoption system. So persons who are interested in becoming foster carers or adoptive parents, they apply to the authority. They go through a process of application and training and relevant screenings before they're approved to provide these types of services. We also have oversight over the licensing and monitoring of children's homes. So it's quite a lot that we do. Each different role also has the different bits that also come under there. So it's quite broad.
That's really interesting.
We can chat the whole day about it.
Just to ask, is this for migrants and locals, or this different for migrants and limited?
So our services are available to any child within the borders of Trinidad and Tobago, so nationals and non-nationals. We try our very best to mirror the processes and the interventions and services that we have for nationals, for the migrant population as well. I know that we have a dedicated CSA or Children's Services Associate, an individual who is bilingual, so who is able to converse with the migrant population. We have a dedicated CSA or caseworker for children who come before us who are from that population. We have a dedicated space for migrant children, and we try our very best to also provide interventions and services. So we have a lot of partnerships with other stakeholders in the child protection framework. So we work along with UNICEF and IOM and UNHCR, and we work along with the counter-trafficking units as well as child protection units, Families in Action, National Family Services. It's quite a broad, it's quite a long list of partners that we do have, that we work with when we do have children in need of care and protection. And so, you know, for migrant population specifically, there's a dedicated space, there's a dedicated caseworker. We also have an interpreter that is based at our Port of Spain office. We try our very best to, you know, education is a really big thing for children in this worldwide, and so we try our best to provide services. So we have the children doing online school because they're not in school spaces in Trinidad and Tobago. We try to provide educational opportunities and services to them where they're at. So there's a lot of room for growth and a lot of room to improve our capacity to meet the needs of the migrant population, but it does exist, and we are trying our very best to, you know, work along with those other agencies who provide that support to the migrant population at large, not just the children, so that these needs can be adequately met.
That's really, really interesting to know. Wow. And yeah, go ahead.
Seeing as there's so many services that the Children's Authority offer, we know that with time there comes changes. So what we would like to know is what are you doing to overcome these changes in the future?
So the field of psychology specifically, and I think child protection and the services that we provide, it's dynamic, it's evolving, like you say. Things change over time, new policies, new legislation, new social issues and challenges that come to light that make our job more difficult, or, you know, create new obstacles or new barriers to access and these things. And so it's important that we always place ourselves in that position of learning and of growing as best we can. Just recently we had a 2-day training that was hosted by UNICEF. To conduct age assessments, you know, for children who may not come to us with documentation of their age and nationalities and these things. So we make ourselves available for training wherever possible with any of our partners.
Yeah. And Ahhalia, I know we're going to continue that conversation after the break, but just to give an update, we were talking about child protection, and we were specifically looking at how we deal with the foster care system in terms of the foster care unit. I know Paola asked a very important question in terms of that service extending to immigrants as well, and I hope that she got a good response. So we are going to be continuing the conversation, of course, on foster care and how it works in our island of Trinidad and Tobago. You're on the Now Morning Show, but stay with us because we have so much more coming up from the Heroes Foundation. We have Paola and Zachary, and of course Ahhalia, who's joining us from the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. This, of course, being our Future Forum Now segment. We are continuing the conversation with the Heroes Foundation alongside a psychologist and team lead at the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. But before we get to the discussion, we do have a very important video on catcalling from a youth perspective. Let's take a look.
Family, like you ignoring me, oh, girl. It's too nice to be walking alone, girl.
Girl, your man know you out here by yourself for.
Come on, I'm between a girl coast, so now we don't bite, no?
Nah, not that. This.
Family, I'm my little girl now, boy. One boy, just a joke, boy. It's not funny, and the girl trying to go home.
You know what's funny though? How stupid they're looking right now, what?
Just tell the girl sorry, like we do it him now, like. Alright now. Sorry, okay? We gotta pull up on the bridges on them, though, because we in this together.
We can end violence and abuse.
The power is in our hands.
From the video we just watched, we can see that catcalling degrades and sexualizes our young children, and this ties into abuse, children abuse. So what we would like to know, Ms. Ramdass, is what are you doing to help educate us locals and migrants about abuse?
Okay, so the Children's Authority engages year-round in public education and sensitization. So we put out a lot of information on our social media platforms that, teach about abuse, about positive parenting, and a range of things impacting on children. We also go into spaces, into schools, into religious institutions, into anyone who would invite us to do sensitizations on child abuse and, care and protection and all of these things. We do that openly. We have had some content on our social media that in Spanish for the migrant community. We hope to, increase that very soon. But that's what we do, and it's important. Whenever we have these sessions, I always make sure to say that it's important. We have things that are ingrained culturally almost when it comes to abuse, the ideas and beliefs and attitudes that we have towards what is discipline versus what is punishment, or just generally, we saw the video there. We have this idea of catcalling as being normal or just a joke, and it is, like you said, bordering on abuse, bordering on sexual abuse. So we need to be able to unlearn some of these attitudes and beliefs that we hold on to because we think it's normal, natural, just a joke. We have that, that joke culture as well that we have to start challenging. So I don't know, as young people, how do you all feel about that? How do you all feel about, or are you brave enough to challenge it, like the video showed, when it comes up? Like, what is your experience with it?
I would say recently we are seeing more and more cases of older men, catcalling young children or trying to get them to do activities that, the young children are not supposed to be doing. And I think that we should look into more prevention programs so that we can continue to educate our children, but not only our children, but also the adults about how we should prevent abuse, and if they know what exactly they are doing, because sometimes our children don't know what is abuse and if they are being abused, and parents don't know if they are doing it. So I think we should look into these programs and not keep it as short-term interventions, but also long-term interventions, as Heroes Foundation does. We have a 3-year program in schools, and I came out of that 3-year program, but they also followed up after, in which I joined the Generation to Generation Council in Heroes Foundation, which gives us these opportunities to come here and speak about these types of stuff.
Yes, so that's wonderful to hear, because the education is being done, the legislation is in place, but we need persons to act on the information that they're receiving. And I like that you said the Heroes Foundation, they have that feedback inbuilt into their program, because it's not just about doing it once, doing it twice, and then thinking, well, okay, change is going to happen. But we also have to be mindful that change is not going to happen overnight. And so we continue to work, and as more young people such as yourself come up with the right thinking and the right attitudes and beliefs and the right drive to make a difference, then hopefully at some point in the future we're able to make that change. We're able to transition from being a reactive society to the one that is preventive. Paola, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Yes, and I think that's what we need, right? Educational programs like Heroes, because, for example, last year we got to almost 6 months learning what is violence, what are the type of violence, because people used to think that violence is just to fight, but no, there are many types of violence, right? So I think that is very important to educate children, and not locals, not only locals, but also migrants, and not only children, but also adults. So I would like to ask you, and what are you doing, or if you work with re-educating adults in this topic of violence and abuse?
So our sensitization and education programs are geared towards adults and children. So wherever we're invited or wherever we see an opportunity to go in and to do sensitization, we take that opportunity. So it's both. So we tailor it for adults, we tailor it for children. We don't only teach adults about abuse, we teach them about different forms of discipline, different types of parenting, and all of these things. Our interventions when children come before us, we don't only focus on the rehabilitation of the children. Yes, that's our primary focus, but also we look at giving families the relevant referrals and the relevant links to the relevant agencies that are involved in the child protection framework as well, to build their capacity as well. So it's not just that, we're taking the children out of a harmful situation. We can't take them out now to put them back into something that is still broken. We have to work on building capacity across the board. So, it's something that we do. that we actively do throughout the year. It doesn't stop at any period of time. Do we need more of it? Sure, we do, but we also need more agencies to step up and do the work. Last month was Child Prevention Awareness Month. So, the Children's Authority, we did a lot of media to sensitize. The other agencies would have been doing their activities as well, just to bring public up to speed on the horrific situation that we face, where our children's rights are being trampled upon, where children are being disregarded almost, and like you said, it's twofold, adults and children. We face, sometimes we have children who don't even know their rights, and I hope that's something that Heroes is also teaching you, yes. So that you're aware, what is my right? What do I need to speak up about? What do I need to, so it's something we cannot do alone. It's something that we definitely need to work together to do. We need to continue, creating that village and getting back to that place where we are each other's keepers and we are, for each other.
Yeah, because as you say, there are children that doesn't know that they are being abused, doesn't know what is violence. For example, children that see violence in their families, in their communities, so they think that that is normal, right? So they are going to repeat that behavior again and again. So how they can ask help? When is the moment that you all can intervene in that situation?
Okay, so children, adults, anyone can ask for help. So if they see something that is concerning, they can contact the Children's Authority at 996. They can contact the police at 999. If they see, for instance, with the migrant population, we know that they're more at risk for things like trafficking and engaging in illicit activities. If you suspect that is happening, you can contact the Children's Authority, the police. You can contact CTU at 800-4CTU, and we will then investigate. So public is afraid that they make a report and automatically we come in guns a-blazing to take children or to lock up people. But we have to investigate and substantiate that the report is valid before we kick our processes into place and we take action. And of course, it's based on risk. How much risk or danger is present in that moment. Then we would know, okay, is a removal something that needs to be done now? Or is it that, we work with the family, depending on what it is. So that children can also choose to report through their schools. So we have student support services that are operating in schools. They have social workers, guidance counselors, they have officers at schools that if you feel unsafe and you don't know how else to reach out, you may not have access to a phone, or you may not feel that you trust someone in your home because maybe the abuse is happening in your home, then you can tell the guidance officer, the social worker, the teacher, the dean, the principal, because by law, these individuals are required to make that relevant report so that, you can get that help that you need. So I don't know if you guys were aware of that before.
Actually, we had the guidance officers at our school, so it was really easy to talk to them about our problems if needed be. But getting back to what you talked about the foster care, what exactly is it and how does it work?
So foster care is a system that is in place, like we said, when we need safe spaces for children. Foster care can be short-term or long-term. So it's that temporary space for children. It's a process of application. You apply, you go through your relevant trainings, you do different checks, medical checks, background checks, you go through a suitability assessment because we have to ensure that you are actually meeting the needs of this child before you are approved to be a foster care provider. So it is that temporary living space. Temporary can mean 2 weeks, temporary can mean a year, temporary can mean 2 years, but it is that in place to just give children safe spaces when they have none. We're now looking to formalize what we call kinship foster care, which brings relatives into perspective, because anyone can be a foster carer, right? You don't have to be married. A single person can also apply. There's no preference between male or female. You apply, you go through the process. Kinship foster care is looking at relations of the child and providing the relevant support, whether it's psychosocial support, financial support, all of these things, just so that we can expand our capacity to provide those safe spaces.
How can people apply?
So you can go onto our website, ttchildren.org, and all of the information is there. The application forms, the application process. When you send us the information at info@ttchildren.org, someone will reach out to you, and CSEs, the foster care CSEs, they're excellent, and they will reach out to you and guide you through the entire process.
Thank you. With the foster care, right, I think it really benefits the children because it helps with their emotional well-being, or it helps them mentally. So with the foster care, do we follow up after they are placed into these families?
Yes. So foster care, you're never alone. The caseworkers for foster care, they check in with foster care providers. The children have caseworkers who also follow up with them throughout. So once you are before us for a reason, your caseworkers continuously check in with you, continuously check to ensure that you're going to your interventions, whether it's therapy or any other type of intervention you need. They're following up with you along the way. They're checking in with our foster care providers, and like you said, you think it's important, and I would say that it is. I always tell people some of these children may not have known safety for their entire lives. Some of them may not have known what it is to be loved and to be safe and to have, a safe place to sleep or to have meals coming in. And I know that it's not as simple as, sometimes it's not simple. The reasons that they're coming before us is not simple. It's intermingled with a whole bunch of other issues. But the fact is that they're coming from a place where they're not safe, and it's important that we give them that, and we show them that there's no guilt, there's no shame, you've done nothing wrong, but you deserve this. This is one of your rights, a safe space.
It's great to know that, they follow up and we keep all of these children safe, because going down into the future, it may have certain families who didn't do the job right, and we might have to take the children out of these foster care, and I think that really affects them.
Yes.
In a certain way, it affects them more. Paola?
Yeah, and I would like to know, how do you study if that person is certified and be able to go to that safe space? Is that for everyone? Is that only for emergencies? Is that for only locals or for migrants also?
So the placement, children, like I said, when we look to foster care, if there's no relative of that child, and then everyone who's a foster care provider, they go through training and screening to ensure that it is a safe space. So it's a process of checks and balances as we go along.
Well, let me thank you so much, Ahhalia, Paola, and Zachary. Obviously, some great information coming from the discussion. I know that you were talking about public education and awareness for the Children's Authority, and I like that you mentioned not just for children, but for adults as well, on learning some of those behaviors and challenging ourselves to relearn exactly what is accepted. Heroes talk about suggesting long-term solutions and also their part in ensuring that children know their rights and they are aware of exactly what they need to do. Ahhalia, thank you for reminding us that there is legislation available as it relates to children and child protection, and also more agencies need to step up, because I know you mentioned Child Abuse Prevention Month and some of the things that the Children's Authority did, but more agencies also need to step up as well to help sensitize the public, not just about child protection, but child awareness as well. And just a reminder, if you do have an issue or you have a report, it's 996. You can contact the authority and you can make a report with that number. Let me thank you so much again, Paola and Zachary, for coming in from the Heroes Foundation. Lovely discussion this morning. Ahhalia, always a pleasure to have you coming in from the Children's Authority, and we look forward to more conversations as we feature our new segment, Heroes or Forum on Now. You're on the Now Morning Show. We're going to take a break and be right back. Stay with us.